Hey guys, this is Josh again with Without Trail. On this one, we're going to start the mini series for the maintenance. We're starting a little differently because on this episode we are doing an oil catch can. So this isn't really actual maintenance of the vehicle, but will help with maintenance of the vehicle and also improve longevity of the engine. So what this thing does is you have an in and an out on the catch can. You basically take this. One side goes to your crankcase ventilation on your valve covers, the other side goes to your intake where it would normally run. Instead, you put this thing in here. So what it does is as your engine sucks that oil vapor and excess crankcase pressure out of the valve cover, it goes through here. This is a baffled design. I'll break it apart here in a second. And then it goes in, it helps collect the vapor in here. So you get just the air actually going back to the engine, and the vapor gets stuck in here and collects. So I'm gonna take this apart real fast, kind of break it down so that you can see a little bit more of how it works. This one is just, of course, another little Amazon one. We're gonna test out and see if it actually works. Brand is Speed Wow. I'll probably scratch this whole thing off. Of course, you can give them different colors. The big difference between this one and like a name brand one is you get a name brand one, you're looking like $100 plus. Actually, I think the last one I got from my Mustang when I had it was about 180 bucks. There's of course a Ford Performance one. It directly bolted to the valve cover. It was really nice, but it wasn't as easy to drain the oil as in one like this, or even a name brand one with this setup. So I'm gonna take this apart, show you pretty much how it works from the inside, and then we'll get to installing it on the truck. All right, so my tripod's kind of in the way for this. That's what this leg is here. But I'm gonna just quickly kind of go over this. So like I said, this is an oil catch can. It basically takes the crankcase ventilation through here, collects the oil vapor in here, and lets the fresh non-oil vapor air go back to the intake. So when you take them, this one's got a screw off bottom, and it's a baffled design. I've already looked at it. I kind of wish it was done a little bit differently, but we'll see if it works. But here's where it would collect all the oil. This one actually has a dipstick to kind of see how much oil has collected in it. So in between oil changes, you can pull this out, see if you need to drain it. Now that'll kind of just depend on how much blow by your engine has. If you have an older engine, that if you take the air intake tube off of the air box and it's got a bunch of oil in there, you could probably really benefit from this and then like a fuel system cleaning or an injector cleaning. But you basically have the end. A lot of the more expensive ones, this end will actually drop down below this plate, which like I said, that's kind of where I wish this one would have done. But this is just an Amazon one. I think it was like 30 bucks. And then of course you have a screened filter on the out. So that basically, if you do have oil collect on the screen, it will kind of just collect on the screen and eventually drop off when it beads up instead of getting sucked all the way through and all the way back through the intake. That's the theory behind this design. Once we get it installed, when it comes time for our next oil change, we will test it out, and of course we'll check this dipstick every so often too. The only thing that kind of sucks for my vehicle is it mainly sits in one spot. I don't really drive it a whole lot, but I am actually getting close to needing an oil change on it. So we're gonna get this installed in the truck. I'm pretty much just gonna put this against the firewall like so, have the one crankcase vent go in, this one come back to the intake. And yeah, so we'll get started on that. And, yeah, so under here on the under the engine, the first thing we have to do is take this stupid cover off. Depending on what it looks like underneath, I might actually leave it off. You are going to need a 10 millimeter on it, and hopefully something long enough to reach this 10 mil down here. Looks like I'm just going to be shy. And you don't have to use a bit driver, you can use a ratchet. Depending on how tight it was put on, it might prefer a ratchet actually. Yeah, it's probably never spin off, so this is actually pretty tight. There we go. Just gonna take this off. See how the factory routing is for the crankcase, well, crankcase ventilation. Use these factory bolt holders. course, you gotta take this off. Now your screwdriver, make sure you always grab something way too big. That way it's harder to use. And always drop it off. So pretty much gonna get as much unplugged from this as I can. I think this intake track might actually be connected to it. You got 3 10mm bolts. You have a couple tubes that gotta come off. Alright, so yeah, way too much engineering into why that gets held down. As you can see here, this is the main reason I'm putting this catch can on here. If you look here, you don't have any injectors on this one. Well, you're way down there, and this is a direct injected engine. So on a multi-part injection, you have the injectors that kind of wash the valves off and do a somewhat decent job keeping the intake valves clean. On a direct injected motor, you don't have this. You have the oil vapor will build up on those valves, get really gunky. You'll start having pretty much detonation when it gets really bad. So this is to pretty much try to prevent that. So we'll basically take this. Actually, we're gonna use it right here because they've actually ran it together, which that I do like. But we're gonna try to get this one off without damaging this nipple. Take a hose from here all the way to here. And then in between that is going to be the catch can. So hopefully we can prevent any oil buildup, any more buildup, because I definitely still need to do another cleaning on it. But yeah, so you end up having to take this off too. And if you look in there, see how it's kind of gunked up? And you have some oil residue in there. Well, it's pretty much to try to prevent that. So we're going to clean this up the best we can. Probably once I get everything put on, we'll actually do a full cleaning running from here all the way through. But that'll be on a later video, and I'll show you how to do all that. It's pretty simple. Kind of like your seafoam treatments. Yeah, so we're going to put this oil cap back on so I don't get any more dirt in there. And then we're going to start trying to get this plastic line off this T here. We'll see how this goes because I couldn't find my razor knife, and this knife is kind of dull, but basically just gonna take my time splitting this, try not to damage the T. Just need it loose enough to pop off and without cutting myself. Definitely don't do this part at home because there's definitely equipment to do this a lot easier. There we go. I think I made it through. Yep, see, because I didn't cut myself luckily, but that's all we're wanting to do is get that off of that T. Alright, so I'm not going to need to clamp that either because it's pretty tight. Alright, and here is the tricky part, at least for me, because I thought I was going to have more engine bay space. As you can tell, there is not a whole lot of places to put things. So what I might end up doing, because it comes with a mount, but I'd rather use an existing hole, tie that mount in with it. I might temporarily move the horns because I honestly don't use my horns ever. It's good practice to get into. Less likely to get a gun pointed at you where I live. So I'm going to most likely move this, use that same bolt hole to pretty much put the new mounting plate there, and then that'll give me a somewhat level surface. And then yeah, so we're going to get these moved, start start trying to run all this, get this one mounted up here, and we'll be back. All right, so we were able to get it in. We got it in right here. We just used the mount for the horn. You want to try to make it as level as possible. Obviously, you're not going to get it perfect. And of course, the screws back here are a little loose. So I'll just go ahead and tighten those. This one does come with a like an actual Allen wrench. Let's try to get it as level as we can. Knock off all the dirt. But so basically, we've got this tube going from here. So we got the tube coming from here. We just have to get one hose to go in right over here, and then another one to go right here and into the intake here. So this one comes with these, which I think this is going to be too big. Yeah, I'm looking curious what even comes with that. That's ginormous. But it does come with some smaller ones too. So I'm basically going to take these. It comes with some, this kit actually comes with a lot of stuff you need. It comes with probably pretty cheap, but we'll see, some Teflon tape there. And that's the right size. So basically just need to have an in and an out. The out will go to the intake. And comes from this T, go straight in. Then put the Teflon tape on here, and then start putting this thing back together. Alright, there you pretty much have it, guys. It's pretty easy install. Just have the out going back up to the intake tube here. I think this might actually have two, so eventually I might actually add another one. So we'll see how this one runs. If it picks up a lot of oil vapor and stuff, then we'll probably do another one. I only ended up using one of the clamps that comes with the hoses, and that was for this one right here, only because that was the only one that was really loose. These, you can take them on and off, but they would hold the vacuum. Like, I'm not worried about those. As well as the one that's on the T over here, it would hold the vacuum as well. Just trying to make sure it didn't get pinched when I put the intake back on, and it should be good. Yep, not kinked, not nothing like that. Ended up having some extra hose, which is a good thing. Did come with plenty of hose for this application at least. Now there might be a random thing where you might not put it here, you might mine over here or something. It's kind of whatever. Like I said, I did a horn delete, and only because I personally do not use my horn ever. Like, no matter how mad I get out there on the road, I do not use my horn. I stick to hand gestures. I'm just kidding about that, but I don't actually ever use my horn. So I just did, when deleted them, took them out of the truck. I'll put them up so that way they don't get lost or actually damaged, so that way just in case I have them. But that's pretty much it. It's pretty easy install. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start answering some questions I know are gonna be asked, like, do you need one? The answer is no, you don't need one. The only time I even would suggest using one is in a direct injected application, a forced induction application, or a higher mileage vehicle. I'm always gonna say higher mileage because as your vehicle gets older, starts wearing those cylinders down, start getting more and more blow by. More blow by means more oil vapor coming through your intake. which means you're going to end up detonating a little sooner or a lot faster, just depending on how fast your engine is wearing. So this is kind of just preventative. Like I said, it's not to help with maintenance. Actually, it actually adds another thing. You gotta make sure you drain it, or at least check it every so often. But if it works successfully, it keeps all the oil vapor from collecting on your intake valves and can prevent damage in the future. So this is just preventative. Like I said, this one in particular comes with this little dipstick. That way, oh hey, it's time for, almost getting time for an oil change. I don't have any oil on here yet, so we're good for now, kind of thing. So at least lets me check it. Some of them have like a little clear hose on the side. I don't prefer those, and the reason why is that hose over time will cloud and or crack or start leaking. So I prefer just to stay away from the ones that are like sided like that. Some have a little clear glass top, like you would see on like a like a brake fluid reservoir on a bike, a little clear glass, or even like on my bike where it's got it for the oil level in the engine, like a little clear peep sight, kind of like this. So some of them will have that. Those ones I'm fine with, as long as it's honest. I won't want to go on a low quality on that one, just because that glass would fog up over time, just like the clear hose. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it, and hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with all the latest stuff, because there's definitely more on the maintenance series coming in, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.